Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Sotah, page 11, which primarily discusses the situation of King Pharoah, who is the king of Egypt, who decided that he had to do something about the Jewish problem, or as he thought it was. And of course, he ended up enslaving all the Jews, and even when it came to the Savior, which he didn't know who it was, of course, it ended up being Moshe or Moses, and he decided that all of these boys should be cast into the water. And there was a reason for that, because we've been learning that God will punish measure for measure. In the exact way that you committed a crime, so will be your punishment. So he understood that if I do punishments with water, like throw their Savior into water, the only way that God could punish me back is with water, but there's no way that could happen because, after all, God already promised Noah after the flood that he wasn't going to destroy the world with water. Of course, his mistake was not the world, but he could still have a single nation or an individual, which, of course, perhaps was the mindset of why he went into the sea that was split. Why would he do that? Would he have not realized that the water could have come crashing down, which, of course, it did? Perhaps, again, is because he thought that this was his rationalization, that God cannot punish him with water. But the point is that this was something in which was not a simple decision how to deal with the Jewish people. So he actually called, as the Talmud here says, 3 of the wisest people to ask them for advice, what to do. One was Bilam, who was an evil person, which he's discussed and read about in the Torah in the book of Numbers. And you have a person by the name of Eov, or Job, and then also the father-in-law, the eventual father-in-law of Moshe, namely Yisro. And it said that when Paro said, we got to kill them, or we got to enslave them, so they all reacted differently. Paro, upon saying this, Bilam said, you're right. We should destroy them, we should punish them, we should kill them, we should enslave them. How we'll do that, we'll figure it out. But because of that, God punishes eventually Bilam that he himself will be killed, which is what happened later on. When it came to Yisro, he did not want to have anything to do with this, so he ran away in protest to show that he was disgusted. And even though that was a very bold move, because it's clearly going against the will of a king, he did it. And therefore, because of that, he merited that he would end up having children who would sit at the Great Sanhedrin, which is a Jewish court. And that makes sense, because a Jewish court has to make the proper decisions, even if it may not necessarily put you in the best light. And that's what he did. He decided to run away, even though it made him not look so good in front of the king. The more difficult one is Eov. It says that he was silent. And by being silent, by saying nothing and just listening to Paro and also to Bilam, and kind of just listening but not saying a word, he was punished with great levels of pain. In fact, if you study the book of Job, it's hard to even fathom how someone could survive the difficulties that he survived. And the question is, why? What is the reason for it? So the simple explanation is that silence is something in which you keep to yourself. And therefore, his punishment was something that he would feel only for himself. He would feel the pain. The question is, what's so bad about being silent? So we know that sometimes being silent could be a positive thing. But in this place, it looks like you're agreeing to what the other people are saying. In fact, in Judaism, there's a concept called shtika kodah. Silence is like admitting to what's being heard. And therefore, Eov had an obligation to speak up. And this is such an important lesson that we have to teach our children. Also, we have to instill among ourselves that if you hear someone who is bullying someone, by you walking away, you're actually part of the problem. Maybe not walking away, but you just sitting there, standing there, doing nothing, that is almost like agreeing to them. Instead, we have to speak up. We have to take action, because that is what's required. If a person acts like an Eov, you're not doing the right thing. Silence is not acceptable. When you know you have the ability to speak up and make a difference, that's what you must do.